So welcome back, guys, to my channel. I'm Cipher, and today I have a guest, Zero2Pass, my good friend from Axis Vanguard, the website, as you may know. So this is the third episode of Cipher Chat, so it's rather unique this time as we actually have a guest on board. And the topic for today, we'll be discussing mostly about Orfist. And Orfist is a very kind of underrepresented deck in this format. So I thought I would bring up my good friend to actually explain it.
Yeah, hey there. Yeah. So Zero2Pass, been YouTubing for a couple of years, been playing Vanguard. Oh gosh, I think 2015. I got involved. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so I've been playing as long as some of y'all, but the way I got into Vanguard, I was playing Magic, and some people introduced this game to me, and I went on eBay and I actually bought up somebody's Link Joker collection. Yeah, that's really how I started, and I was able to build Oxes and some Starvader decks, and Chaos Breaker came a little later. I was a little slow to the game, but the card was pointed out to me, and that's kind of where it went. So started doing case splits with people, and yeah, just really fell in love with Link Joker. Went to regionals with friends, played Springfest teams and things like that. And my first regionals I actually played Glendale's
Wow.
World End. Yeah, and I later on found out that I wasn't supposed to say final turn, but I
Yeah.
wasn't doing well.
You
I
were
was
like
at
alone.
the
They were fighting
I was
mistakes.
at table 500. Yeah. I was at table 500. I was at the very bottom because it was my first regional. I didn't know what I was doing, and apparently the head judge was standing there, and I said final turn. My opponent's like, "Why are you still stuck on grade 2?" I said, "Just watch." And the next turn, I basically I locked him out of the game, and it was funny because the judge, he just looked over at me and said, "That was very artful of you." He didn't call me out, but then later on I found, oh yeah, you don't say that.
I mean, yeah.
You don't say those things. So that was my first regionals. And, and then it was really funny. Yeah, and then I ended up starting to play Chaos, and I Chaos Messiah. That was a yeah. So Chaos Messiah with Freeze Ray actually. Yeah, and so that's really where I got into it, and then the whole thing with Nubatama. I was looking for another clan, and Technical Booster 1 was about to come out, and I saw this, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll play that because none of my locals players were playing it. So I started building a Kujikira Kongo, Kabuki Kongo kind of deck that, the BT13 type of deck, and then we got the we started getting, the strides and everything. So back when we had,
Yeah, back then Shirayumi came out like one set, didn't get support for like over a year, and he just finally got something else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, right? So, yeah. So that's kind of where, that's how I got into the Vanguard, and then I ended up making the Nubatama Third Eye page on Facebook, which because I couldn't find any major Nubatama group. Yeah, there was no group, and it's a small niche group. I would say there's probably a smaller following compared to a lot of things, but it's almost 1,000 members at this point, and yeah, people really like it. They find it, and they come. We learn from them, they learn from us. I mean, it's a lot of fun. So, and then I started doing the YouTube thing, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is going to go, because I see everyone else, I mean, people like Insider and the effects and everything and all the editing they do. I'm like, wow, I just don't have the time. So I felt like trying to, become part of that world and put in what I can, and yeah, why not, and yeah,
same here.
Maybe give some wisdom, maybe make some mistakes here and there, learn some things, and yeah, so that's kind of how it all. That's how I'm involved in Vanguard,
Yeah.
basically, I guess.
In Vanguard, yeah. Then like recently we I think Jaime brought you up
Yeah,
to me.
and then that's the
Hey,
latest
why not-
thing. Yeah.
Why not get this guy?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's how we evolve, man.
I was floored. I'm like, wow, okay, Jaime. I know of Jaime, and I actually know people who know him. 1 Degree of Freedom. He's here in the same state with me, and yeah, I mean, it's been an honor, be able to write some things, and I'm thinking of more things to write. I just have to put time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, being part of Axis, I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm learning a lot, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah.
Yeah, the server is quite lively, surprisingly. Even when there's no articles being produced, sometimes we just posting things.
Well, and I like the fact that group's very international too. It's
Yeah, I mean, I'm from
we're
Singapore, which
13
is like
hours
Southeast
away.
Asia, 13 hours
Yeah, I
apart.
mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy. So yeah. And you guys play Japanese format, right? Is this true?
yeah. I mean, mainly Japanese format, but we definitely keep up with the English format because it's basically the same thing with like a set release day, apart from a few promos here and there. So like, I think for this series it was pretty bad because like a lot of promo cards didn't make it until very late into the game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's pretty similar. Oh yeah, just to shout out him again. He's actually one of the main authors for the Orfist guide for set 1. So do check it out if you wanna see more in detail, and of course his channel. To get into it, like, how do you feel about like the whole set release gap between like set 2 and set 3 for English?
You mean for D? Yeah, for D. Yeah. So, well, my first impression overall, like when they rebooted, and I saw what was going on, I'm like, wow, this doesn't really seem like Link Joker, but all the pictures, I mean, I was drawn to this. I mean, it's definitely looks like Link Joker. Yeah. I think set 2 really. I built Orfist. I built it. I had it, but set 2 really gave us some tools, in particular Thumbarino and Alvaderd, where we started using the shadow tokens as a resource. And when I saw this, I thought, wow, that's really really cool because 2 counterblasts, you get 3 units, and then you can use them. And you can try to get around plays like Leonard. I mean, these are things that people talk about, all over the internet, all over YouTube. But set 2 definitely solidified Orfist, is more enjoyable actually for me. And I've really been.
I felt like in set 1, Orfist was really like kind of vanilla at a point.
Yeah.
You just call
very,
token and just like
very vanilla. Yeah. And actually, it's interesting because. Even set 2, it's like, well, what's Bushi doing? Is this kind of like, it's kind of like tokens, a Link Joker token with all the retire effects of Kagero.
Yeah, we should.
So,
yeah, it's very different from Link Joker. So like one topic I would ask is like as you were like both a Nubatama player and a Link Joker player, presumably, I feel like was Link Orfist like rather easy for you because. Nubatama had the whole evil decoy token thing briefly.
Yeah.
So they sound that knowledge like carry over into Orfist.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's really how I felt. I'm like, wow, tokens that are 15s instead of 5. Yeah. No, it really. It really does feel like a little bit of Nubatama in it. One of my best friends that I play with a lot, he plays Kagero all the time, and so even this last weekend we were playing. He's sitting there playing Eugene. And seeing how many units I'm going to give him, how many open rearguard circles, all that. He's like retiring my field, I'm retiring his field. I'm like, I feel like I'm playing Kagero Link Joker in a way. It's kind of funny, but yeah, the tokens. I mean, it does. It kind of has that feel of Nubatama. Instead of having the guard, they're bigger, they're larger.
You just thinking about this, which is definitely a big thing, cause like just Orfist alone. Just on like card advantage alone, Countdown 2 to get 350k tokens is like significantly better than most things. And what people don't realize is that the numbers X form is actually on par with like best strength numbers. It's like 15 plus 15 is 30k. It's actually about you're hitting around the same ballpark.
Yeah, it's definitely. I've heard some people recently even saying slept on, and I mean you were saying that too. But in other videos I've seen that too. Where they were talking about that, and it's interesting. It's an interesting deck, the 3 attack. I'm pretty used to having 3 attack lanes because of Nubatama, except more recently with last
dominates, right?
Yeah,
the
last
the
premium like
right?
Jakamesa.
The one that retires still gets zeros.
Yeah, you can get 5 attacks. So if you're lucky, I usually only probably pull off 4, but I win because they have like 1 or 2 cards in their hand because
Yeah,
I play with Yami Kongo that apparently everyone hates now. To me, there it seems like Yami Kongo's the new Chaos Breaker that everyone hates. But it's the 3 lanes. I mean, last weekend I played against 2 Magnolia players, and when I was at locals, and here they are throwing 6 attacks at me, and I'm still able to guard. And then I swing at them with 3 larger columns, and it works. It does, just as long as you can get over those numbers. And we can eventually talk triggers and things like that. I think that's the biggest controversy right now for me, with even some of my viewers talking about, what do you run to get over those numbers? And we can get into that at some point, but that's the big thing for me, was what's my trigger lineup right now with set 2, talking about, because you asked me about set 2 and then set 3. Set 2, the big thing for me was, running, do you run Estret, or do you run Marisma? Yeah, Marisma, which is the searcher for the world orders. And being somewhat aggressive player, I looked at those cards and I'm like, well, I'm already running 7 to 8 world orders. I'm not really worried too much about bricking, so I went right to Estret. And I noticed when I was watching WCC Kai's videos for Japan that they were doing exactly what I was doing.
Estret's the bird, right?
Yeah, it's the bird.
It's actually, I wanted to ask you about that card. It was like there's many takes of like that card being is it a staple? Is it not a staple? Like, this is something really interesting.
That's the thing. So Orfist, you could play Orfist straight aggro and not worry too much about control, but I don't think that works. That's the vanilla we had in DBT01. So when you go to DBT02, you really have to. I think you really just have to accept that in order to keep up with, definitely tier 2 decks, but even try to beat down, Bruce, Bastion, things like that. You have to accept the control element of Orfist. You have to run Alvidards, and I honestly think you have to run the bird. To me, the bird's a clock, and I'm that one player that puts it behind my Vanguard, because
so every turn
I want it behind my Vanguard, because I swing with Orfist, and they're either going to take it to the face. Their Vanguard's already at 13. I don't need Orfist to be bigger. Or they're going to perfect guard it because they're worried about, OT
critical triggers.
Over triggers. Yeah. So they're going to guard that anyways. So to me, and it may be somewhat flawed, but to me, putting him in the back is better, because it's harder for my opponent to get to that card. It's not taking up power in my rear guard lanes.
Orfist does get 5k too when you're on.
And it does, yeah, it's 18.
Yeah, so it does it for 18.
Yeah, yes. So they can't, they can't just throw a 5.
It's like 15k to pass.
Yeah, they can't put a 5 down. They have to overguard. We don't have 10s naturally, the 10k shields. So it makes it very difficult for the player to guard, just Orfist himself. That 5k on Orfist, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually very crucial for the guarding, because the 18, I mean, it makes it hard.
Especially now, because the only 20k shield we have is our fronts.
Yeah.
Which I personally feel is a staple in this format. Like,
oh yes,
as long as your deck has enough advantage and does not need draw triggers, there's no reason not to just play 4 copies of it in the deck.
Yeah, and this is, I guess we're getting to the controversy now. So in terms of triggers, so I was running the 3 front, 8 crit, and then you look at a lot of the again.
To be fair, yeah, most people are playing that lineup.
That's kind of staple, the 3-3-8. But I think 7-4 is better. 7 crit 4 front if you're going to go that way. But right now I'm running 4-4 and 3 draw, and I went. I know. Yeah. I went back to 3 draw, and this is the thing. I get called out on my video, and it's like I explained it in the video. I'm like, I know. Don't just take it with a grain of salt. It's okay, But I get it. I understand the crits are very pressuring, but I found that the fronts actually can help close games too, because when you check a crit, you're going to put that 10k maybe on a rear guard because they perfect guarded Orfist, and maybe you'll throw the crit over there as well. Well, that next lane
Oh,
with the 2 damage, whatever they have in hand, they block that, and then your other rear guard lane is there's no extra 10k. You know,
yeah, I think
so
like one thing to note is that the new support, right? The Tamburina
yeah,
and the Dragon record, they both work on both on attack. So
yeah,
actually, to get an ideal attack pattern, attacking your Vanguard first is actually really good in Orfist,
hmm
which I think many people is overlooking, because you can attack Orfist first, farm triggers onto Elfided or whatever token you have there, or maybe even like the Tamburino column. You're waiting like 48k or 58k is up for trigger. And Persona right and all this.
yeah. It's big. It's really yeah. And so I'm finding that if I play that line of attack, that the fronts actually can close games out. So, and I also find too the damage that I do to my opponent. And this is something I've noticed. I'm not usually winning when my opponent's at like 4 damage or 3 damage. I'm usually winning when my opponent's at 5. So
Yeah,
the
because you
only
don't have like multi attacks
yeah
to help you out there.
yeah the benefit of the crit is just in case they heal, which happens. But
Yeah, for sure.
at that point when they're at 5, I mean, you get a front, you've really put on a lot of pressure because now you have 10 plus across the entire front. Yeah, so that's kind of how I see that, and it's worked for me. So, and the reason the draws, I'm finding that those extra pieces I get, even if it's just a trigger to guard, it's been helpful. And and I know that the draws they're only 5Ks, but if I get them early, I throw them to right up.
For right deck, yeah.
Yeah. So
Or it's not like it what's the worst early game, just call it as crud.
yeah,
Screw the draw trigger, something like that.
the other thing I think is important with the way of playing Orfist, because you have 3 attacks, your grade 2 turn's very important. And I've said this when Nubatama plays as well, with like Zangetsu and Magetsu Storm, things like that. Those few extra attacks you get in on your grade 2 turn,
Yeah, it really helps.
It helps. It can make or break the game. I mean, and so the whole thing with running, Eclipsed and trying to get Bobo Mine and Thumberino into hand, to try to make that extra big lane that your opponent's not wanting to guard. I mean, it's early game. They probably have 5 or 6 cards in their hand. They're staring down at a 15 or was it 30k? Yeah, 30k column when they're sitting on a 10k Vanguard.
At most 10k, right?
Yeah, it's that's hard for the opponent to guard. It's like, well, I'll probably just take it. So that extra 1 damage you did right there, it was kind of like getting a crit on grade 2 without playing a rear guard.
Especially with the order card, which I think something I want to discuss. I think I tried to talk about it in the videos briefly, but I noticed that in most of your lists you do play like only one of the Eclipse Moonlight.
Yeah, I only play 1 Eclipse.
Yeah, I understand because because your grade 1 can search for it on the right deck. Yeah.
Yes.
But I see many people play multiple copies of it too, which I don't agree with, but
I don't either. I have a pretty strong opinion about this, which I have a pretty strong opinion. However, I also know that some players, if they're able to stall you and they've got a good hand, and you've got 1 counterblast and you've been blowing your shadow tokens away, and they don't give you that extra damage, you're kind of in a corner. So I mean, I can understand to some degree running 2, but no more than that. And honestly, I would just run the 1. I mean, in my opinion, at that point, just run another Estrat. Have Estrat, and just be very careful with when you decide to get rid of your shadow tokens. I mean, it's So
also another thing is like even at the Grade 3 order, like the Grade 3 order from set 1, which is in the darkness nobody knows. I feel the retires really overlooked in this deck. Like retiring front row is still very good because you can touch like let's say if you think like the modern day Varinas, right? They play on the Varina Ergas there, so it's a 20k body and a 15k shield. You can just kill it off with just Wonderful Blast.
Yeah,
when you get to matchups like Bastion, where Eldon's in the front row and all this, people underestimate the retire, especially when combining with the new Grade 2 Tripar. You can shoot kill 2 regards per turn basically if you play it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Kagero, because the reason I'm running 3 three of that world order, the in the darkness no one knows, is actually because of Kagero. Because I'm finding myself, I've had a rough time. I've had a real rough time against Nirvana, Verena. Yeah, that whole that it can be a hard match. And yeah, that helps. I mean, I've almost considered going up to having 9 orders, and I've seen people do this. Instead of having 3 bird, have 4 of that and 2 bird. Just making sure you have enough attrition in the deck, right? So, because honestly, Estret, I'll pitch Estret to Ride Up, because it's a card I want to see sometimes later game, and actually a lot of times it's later game. Where I just feel like I need to be hitting their board hard enough in case I don't win this turn. I'm able to take a piece off the board.
Especially his Orfist, right? Like, I wouldn't say it's like a grind deck, but because it does have a very but because of the 3 attacks, while it can be played very aggressively, it's still like when you're putting heals once, you'll definitely take 1 more turn to win. Like, you're not like Bruce getting the 5 attack combos.
And the funny thing is, I mean, the other decks I play, I mean, Bruce is one of them, and they play very different, So I like doing that because, I mean, I like playing Orfist, but I go play, and we can talk about that a little bit maybe later too, other decks, but for playtesting. But yeah, I mean, it does play very different, and it is kind of grindy, yeah, because you're going to get your 3 attacks, and then you got to survive next turn, and then get in your 3 other attacks, One of the cards I really kind of miss is the, what is that, that Sus card, the barrier energy.
Oh, okay. The one you play the 1/2 off, right? The comes to
the
Blitz Order. Yeah, it gets 30k power to the Vanguard.
Too early for me, too late for you. I'm trying to think of the. Yeah, but the 30k, but it's 2 counterblasts. I'm like, why Bushi Road? That's a lot. But I get it. Yeah, no, I understand why. So I think the front triggers have helped there, though, because of the 20k. I mean, it really... Yeah, and one of the other things too, I wanted to talk about this too, and I don't know how you feel about this, but Routus. So apparently, yeah. So in DBT01, I was very, very much for running main board 3 more because of the 10k, and apparently people are going, just to rush. Apparently, people are going back to this.
Oh, really? I haven't paid attention.
Yeah, I haven't seen the deck lists. And apparently it was some players in New York or something. Somebody was talking about this. I think it might have been on Facebook, but I think it had to do with counter rushing Bruce or something. Counter rushing.
Even Bastion also on the Great 2 turns. Just hit them.
Yeah. So I think in terms of future development for the deck, you may see more of that potentially. The only room I can see for putting that in would be going down back to 7 orders, and then maybe dropping a copy or 2 of the bird. That's about it, because maybe Alvarado, maybe at 1, dropping him to 2 or something. Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Definitely, your main order is still the Great 2 one, or 1, which is
absolutely.
Following Moonlight is a 4th still, because it's usually a free, not free, so plus 1 bite, but because you do draw a card, it helps you get more pieces. So the only thing you really mess around is in the darkness nobody knows, and the Eclipse Moonlight.
Yeah, and I think you'll keep Eclipsed at 1
probably going forward.
I think that I wouldn't drop Thumberino to 4. I've seen some decks from 4 to 3. I've seen people go to 3. I'm like, I wouldn't do that. But Alverdard, Estret, and then in the darkness nobody knows. Those are the only 3 cards I could see. Really, the retire package is the only thing I could see. Maybe shaving down a few cards to maybe put a Routus in back end. So that's just one of the things in terms of just early pressuring. So if you have Routus, I mean you can get 3 attacks in pretty easily on your grade 2 turn.
Yeah, especially. Even your grade 2. What's his name?
QBC.
It gives 5k to a unit. So early game, it forms he can give himself too, right? QBC.
He can what?
He can give the 5k to himself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, then so it's never really a dead card. It's always pushing for damage.
Yeah, QBC is really, really good too. So
Mm.
yeah. So that, like right now, because you were asking me about set 3. So I don't
Yeah, going
know.
forward.
I don't know what they're going to give us in 3 for this deck. So I'm thinking, if we don't get many pieces for Orfist, I think these are the kind of changes that we're talking about right now, where
Change to more.
yeah, us Orfist players just kind of
Focus more on rush over the control, right?
yeah, we explore rush over control. I think that's what you're probably going to see, and we'll see. I mean, the deck may become kind of stale. I mean, in terms of solving the deck and what we're seeing and what people are playing, what I'm playing, is it that may be where it's at right now for a while, but those are the kind of things I could see kind of changing up. I don't know if they're going to give us another order that's going to be, really exciting. But it'll be interesting. So yeah, set 3. I guess. Well, we can talk about that whenever you want. The Gravidia.
I guess we can touch. I guess we can touch on it now. I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
So the
just last week actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So these things look like jellyfish humans.
Jellyfish.
That are from space or something. Yeah. I mean, when I saw the artwork, I was just thinking about this yesterday too. I'm like, and some of them it looks very kind of like they're almost underwater, and it's like, okay, Brandt Gate's kind of like Antarctica, for if we made a comparison to Earth, Earth.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are these creatures actually in space, or are they like under the ice?
Yeah, I mean,
I know they're from space. I mean, because you see pictures with cars and everything, but they really they do they look. It's almost like taking.
They look like jellyfish. That's true.
Yeah, they look like, and the one actually looks like she has tentacles of like a squid, the grade 3, that other grade 3 that they just released. Sorry, I don't all the or previewed.
Nice, fine.
Yeah, I don't have all the names in front of me. It's gonna be like playing deleters for names, trying to remember all these names.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh. So
like deleters in the, at least in the Japanese side of things, like even like especially in the Japanese format, for the people who could like read Japanese, like the deleter names didn't make any sense because they use like all of the unused words that and all the vowels in Japanese to make the names. So actually, none of the deleters names make any sense.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, I remember the whole thing with Oxus and Wookus, and I mean, yeah, he that card. I mean, the name. I don't even know if anybody says it right in English, to be honest. So because apparently the characters they're using in the Japanese are not used characters or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a history behind it.
Basically Japanese has a lot of like unused vowels.
Yeah.
So like deleter names are basically all that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it was interesting that they gave the grade 1 a on-ride draw.
For this set, yeah.
Yeah, for the Gravidia. Yeah.
Yeah, Gravidia.
The meteorite. One of the things I was worried about is, am I gonna? And this was just like 2 days ago. I'm like, am I gonna have to play with the that furry orange ball thing? Throw.
The one that on flips, right?
Yeah, you throw away a meteor and.
I was actually thinking about it.
Yeah, but then they gave us the support we needed to countercharge and to hit.
Yeah, and surprisingly, the deck feels kind of very playable. Just like the 2 sets of reveals we got.
Yeah. I haven't play tested at all about it, but it looks. I think it's interesting.
For me personally, I think the biggest selling point for me of the new deck is that because the order cards, basically when you write into your grade 3, you basically draw 2. You basically just draw 2 for free, which is amazing. Because the set order, which is the Neatness Meteor Shower, has a skill when it's played by a Vanguard effect, you just draw a card. So when the Vanguard circles place, you just search your deck for 2 and call. So you just straight up just +2. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and the best thing about this card is she's apparently a space dragon. So.
Yeah, the race space dragon. Every alien.
I'm sure that's got to be a misprint. This is not a space dragon.
Yeah, I was reading like, okay, alien, or space dragon.
Yeah, and I know people talking about it looks like Gridora and Oxus kind of
yeah,
together. It's interesting. I think I'm looking forward to the story here, to be honest, because apparently the Cardinals. I mean, it seems like they're guarding Brandt Gate. They're guarding something like this from entering, and then you've got the police who are kind of trying to keep everyone, under check, and then this shows up. Yeah, yeah. I'm not so. Yeah, this has got to be something that's, yeah, yeah, and the enemy. It's got to be that void. At least part of it that they're talking about, maybe returning or something like that. So, I don't know. Oh, one of the interesting things I thought was in terms of artwork, because I do pay a bit of attention to that too. Let me see here. Where is she? Yeah. So if you look at no, not the grade one. I've actually got it all pulled up here, so I'm looking at it. The where is she at? Yeah, there we go. Dellen. So the starter. If you look at the starter for this, the first thing that came to my mind was actually Orfist. And the reason I say this is there's a lot of purple. There's a lot of pink and purple in here. And if you actually look at the body of this creature, it almost looks like something that's evolving from something. I mean, to me, the structure of this card, the way they drew it, it looks like something bad happened within Orfist group. And that's what it looks like to me. Maybe they were invaded. Maybe somebody got, something happened. I mean, that's what it looks like. But I mean, I'm just throwing out fan.
But what I'm really interested in is really the mechanic of the meteors itself, like because like it's basically every single turn, if you play enough of it, you can just keep retiring opponent boards every single turn for one turn.
Yeah, it's incredible. I agree. This order is crazy. I mean, it's I had to go back and look at this, and I'm like, well, this deck's got to have some downside to it. And then you look at this, and you're like, wow, you can when you put it in the order zone, you can soul charge. So right, you've got the one, I think it's a grade 2, this Soul Blast 3. So I was like, well, how are you gonna get your soul back? This card, this gives you your soul back.
If you play 5, you get your 5 souls. Yeah. Right? And the soul charge is not even like something you must do, because it's a you may soul charge. Yeah. So one thing I was thinking is like, I just thought like maybe the set might have some like deck out issues. Mm-hmm. But because the soul charge is optional, so I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Yeah, and then the only problem I can see is like maybe it's like Zorga, how the orders can be a bit cloggy. But then there's a great one from the right deck. It has a skill to actually play the order cards. No, right deck. Yeah, there's some great ones in the deck which actually allow you to like, set orders from your hand immediately. Yeah, I mean and then you, like you said, you retire. I mean, if you drop 5 of them, you clear the board. If you drop 5, you drop 5, you clear the board. Yeah, that's crazy. It's really good. So I'm really interested to see like how will people like always go for the 5, or will they go for the 3, at least 3 for the 15k and one crit? Because like the 5 is really costly. Like it does whole field, but if you want to like in a way like refuel the card, you must like personal right, I guess, to get 2 more copies from your deck to the order zone. And now we're all trying to figure out how many. Is it 12? Is it 14? Is somebody going to be crazy like me and run all 16? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. That's too much. But 16 was a very interesting number. I'm not really sure how they came up with that. Maybe it was to see who would screw it up or not. Who is a madman who will do it? Yeah, that's a lot. Also, another thing I'll say on the deck is that the deck actually deck thins pretty fast. It does. So like that actually ties into its 5 effect where it actually activates triggers twice. So that's actually like some synergy that I actually didn't notice at first. For the Vanguard filters too, then you got some cards look top 7 to add any number. Right? Was it the grade 2 or the grade 1? When you play it, you can look top 7 for as many of these meteors, right? So you actually decked in way faster than like any deck in this format, I think. In Overdress at least. Yeah. So like if it's possible to just open a double trigger and basically there's like 4 triggers on a grade 3 turn. That's the craziest part for me. Yeah, being able to compress like that is
we'll see. I mean, I hope it turns out to be a problematic deck. You know, I do. I hope that this actually does well. You know, and that it makes players who play other things, have to think a little bit and maybe adjust their play style. So
especially like right now, people are still on the mindset that Bruce and Bastion are still at the decks to beat.
Everything.
So I think having more decks which can do more on turn 3 is really seems to be where you're going with this format. Except for like currently the best Brandt Gate deck between like Orfist and Prison, many people would still say it's Prison. I presume that's what I've been hearing.
I'm not so sure. I whenever I play Prison, I seem to do pretty well with it, but it may just be what I'm playing against as well. But I'm pretty sure I've taken games from my friend who plays Bastion with Prison. I mean, it's just very different play style. I mean, Prison. What was it? Someone in our group, I think it was Makina Blau was saying something about it's just like Nubatama. I think it was him. I can't remember, but it plays like it kind of, because of the way it controls. It's not a bind zone, but it kind of is in a way. So, and they're able to get the cards back. So it's kind of like, After Image and Bind, where, we would pop our cards back. Yeah, and then all those cards would go back to your opponent's hand. Instead of going back to the hand, it goes out to the field if they just pay for it. So, for Prison, I'm very excited about the promo. So, I'm probably more excited about that. Yeah, that.
Oh yeah, the one that binds the top with your opponent's deck, right? Yeah, that card when I saw it.
Yeah.
Why is this a promo? Like honestly, I saw the Tripar in set 3, and the Tripar is the Prison Tripar. Was it the one that binds 3 and get the crit and all this? And I'm like, why isn't this in the main set?
That promo, that it reminds me of Ribble with years. I mean, I had to wait how long to get that card? So in English, oh my gosh. So I'm pretty excited about that though. I think that's interesting, and I of course, I mean, it takes a card from hand. So again, or not from hand, from the top of the deck.
But you can just see, like, I'll say Brandt Gate, honestly, like, it's actually the nation where the deck's actually straight furthest away from your roots, which is really interesting, because, like, I don't, personally, for Brandt Gate, I don't see elements of, like, Link Joker, Nova Grappler, and Dutch Police, like, just up there in your face. Like, these decks are literally their decks, which is unlike, like Bastion is basically, it's just like how Luwad has grade 1s, Outmaw has grade 2s, Bastion is basically dead with grade 3s. but for Brandt Gate, all the decks are so unique that I feel that many people may turn off if they're used to, like, the traditional playstyles.
They are. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's so, Orfist, it looks like Chaos Breaker, right? So okay, but it doesn't play like it at all. And then the police, Aurora Princess, all that. I mean, that doesn't look like anything. Just okay, they're police, right? I guess Gravita looking like the deleters is maybe the closest thing now that we have. Maybe, So it may be kind of, but yeah, it's not like Bruce, right? I mean, the Spike Brothers. Bastion is Royals. I mean, with some of them that look like Shadow Paladin, but it's really Royal Paladin, or even Gold Paladin more than Shadow Paladin. So it's you're right. You're absolutely right.
One thing on the discuss is like about those Prison / Orfist decks that have been popping up in set 1 metagame. How do you feel about that whole idea? Like the one using the Orfist right line then into Prison.
So I actually tried doing that. And my local playgroup kind of they poke fun at me for that, because I like hybrid. Yeah, I like hybriding. I like making decks be able to use something that's powerful from one mechanic or one play style, and then be able to switch, either at the end to close or to throw the opponent off or something. The Orfist Aurora is kind of, I think it's quite clunky. I do like how Eclipse is being teched in. I think that's it really helps give them a booster in particular, because that's where I would put it. I would put it in the back. It gives them a little bit more power.
Especially in Prison doesn't hit really good numbers. It's a very grind deck too.
Yeah, so I think Eclipsed in Prison. I mean, I was trying to build a deck that ran 4 Eclipse with 4 Thumbarino in a Prison deck, and yeah, it's too many moving parts there. I think too many things that don't work well together. But yeah, I do experiment with that kind of thing. I like to see how cards may interact together that weren't really the designer's intent. So I'm one of those kind of players. I think a lot of us are. We look at a set and we're like, well, this looks very linear, in the sense that this is what Bushi meant for us to do. Now, what can we do that they didn't mean us to do? Like Chaos Messiah, for example. Like it goes back to things like that. Where, or like what was I playing in V? Hanzo Jamio Kongo. Things like that, where you have 2 very different abilities that can synergize as long as the game is grindy enough. Yeah, I was looking at. I'm looking back at the aliens that we're getting for the new ride line, and I think that there was something. Let me see here if I can find it. Let's see here. Yeah, so the one card, what is her name? Gravidia Stunnel. I found this interesting. If your drop and order zone have a total of 5 or more set orders. So that doesn't just mean Meteor, right? That means anything. So I could actually see the new ride line running maybe some of the Orfist orders, like just running maybe, yeah, like Eclipsed, or maybe they need more retire. I don't think so. But definitely the draw engine, just to if you wanted to do that, although you may deck yourself out faster. But there are things that you could do there, because the card literally says set orders. It doesn't say meteorites. So I found that interesting, and I don't know if that's Bushi kind of showing us that they may merge the ideas kind of together, allow us to have more ability to go across the archetypes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially since like the ones which touch meteorite, they don't even specify like this card in particular. So like, it's the same with Prison and Wolves. Like, none of them really search for a specific name by name. So this way they can keep on adding like new set orders, which I find really interesting for Brandt Gate. I'm calling it now. I'm pretty sure like down the road we'll see a new Prison for the Prison deck. Like, it won't only be the current one. There might be a whole new Prison for different sort of maybe you're buying from somewhere else, or maybe it's like a different sort of Prison. Like maybe it's even like Prison where you only can suck in 1 or 2 cards, but those cards cannot come back. Like, there's actual banish.
I think it would be interesting to have an alternative Prism card. I think that would be, it would definitely help flavor and keep keep the players interested in that deck type. So I'm just looking at that question you had from earlier. What are things you feel people overlook about Orfist? I think we kind of covered that in a way, I guess.
Another thing is that people keep forgetting that you are saving cards in hand. Like that's the reason why Orfist can last long in a grindy matchup, because Thumbarino will refund itself. So like, most of the time you want to be using your tokens to hit your opponent, because that's a 30k line. Personal is 40k or trigger and whatever. Like, you are not calling cards from your hand, and when you're using your tokens for like to retire opponent's regards, or just to draw cards back, that's how you actually kind of build that advantage gap between your opponents. And that's essentially how Orfist generally wins the game. It's a very, I wouldn't say, it's kind of methodical in a sense where you're really playing like whole number game with your opponent. Like what you're saying, it's a war of attrition, right? But at the same time, like Orfist, because they are tokens, you can just get the cards back. Like,
that's one of the big arguments about not running draw triggers. is that you're keeping your hand. Yeah, so it's like why run a 5K over a 15 that you could have in hand? And it's like, well, I've been trying it, and it's been kind of interesting because the draws have been helping me. But maybe next week, maybe tonight when I playtest more, my draws will be out again. Who knows? But you're right. It's definitely a deck that it keeps its
Even when I
hand.
was playing like Bastion against it, like people might say Bastion's like the better deck overall, but like sometimes the just that turn 2 rush from the Orfist player, and if especially in my hands are all grade 3s, which will happen when you're playing Bastion. If you go to 3 to 4 early, if you do not heal out of it, you're actually in a very dangerous position, especially since the deck has a lot of chances to retire. So I feel like the way Orfist is played is actually you can play such an aggressive game. The opponent is like forced to call units to react to you. Then when they do, that's when you can use your retire skills to just chip away at them. I feel this is just very
Absolutely.
I feel this is very it's I'll say it's a pretty balanced format. Like there's no tier 0 deck in my opinion. Like there's tier 1,
Sure.
tier 2, but I like I remember when there's like Leonard was first revealed, like Bruce with Leonard was revealed. Everybody went insane like this is the SSS tier deck. I was like, you sure? I was like, I was like, are you sure? Then they were like, no, they were like, you are dumb. Leonard is the best deck in the moment. If Bastion goes first into it, he probably still win. Then like, nope, we have Eden. Then I don't know what's going on. But I think the difference, especially in D, like one broken card is one like OP card is not enough to like carry a whole deck. Like especially in D, like in V series I'll say it's probably happens quite a few times. Like Copelian has like Percival at the time. Like then Sharpelli had the spear right into that. Then Overlord the Cross the Cross was a badly designed card. As much as I love playing the deck, but that one card can carry the entire deck at times.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would show up to locals with Chaos Breaker and sit down against a good friend of mine who plays golds pretty regularly, and when he would pull that deck out, on my turn he'd have no one on the table. His board would be empty. I mean, he knew how to play it, and with Percival and all those things, and popping cards to hand, putting them in soul, it was crazy. I mean, he could totally play around my central mechanic of trying to lock columns out of the game. I mean, you're right. There are definitely cards like that, Or you look at Angel Feather, which I don't know how much favor it's in right now, but kind of the same thing. Yeah, if they play it the right way,
and they check like 5 crits, 3 out of checks, yeah, I guess you're dead sometimes.
Yeah, out of their 100 drive checks or whatever, damaging themselves, I mean, whatever. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, I agree with you. I think D is pretty
like there's
pretty
really like
balanced.
no one broken card. Yeah, like if it's broken, if there's like healer combos. I know like Bruce has the Marjorie, Leonard, and the purple. Yeah,
it's a lot of pieces. I think it might have been last weekend I was able to get off 6 attacks. It's hard to get there.
Then there's the fact that over in Japan at least, like remember when Set 2 was first released in Japan, Nirvana wasn't really that hot. Then after a while people just realized we'll just rush everyone. Then they built this. then like I swear there are like a few games online. You search under, I think it's like Gamers on Mars channel. You see like Nirvana players ending games within 3 minutes because they just rush with their numbers. So I just wanted to ask one last question, which is like, how do you feel about going to premium? That most of the Brandt Gate stuff don't really work in the format, as compared to like Guitar Century and even Dragon Empire.
Oh, and not being able to be like bring it over to premium or anything like that. Yeah, so like for example with Nubatama, Tanya came right over because she can work with things like Hagakure and Pop, and you can actually call a PG back to the circle and then get your PGs back. I mean, you have ways of recycling. So I think Dragon Empire got really good hookups, especially Nubatama, which is kind of funny because if you're on Jockey Mesa and you put Tanya out on play and you have her call a PG, then Jockey Mesa bounce your board. That PG goes back to your hand. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, the over trigger. I've got Tanya that's in there. I've even thought about running the. Well, what's the other thing? The Dragon Empire. For us, what do we get? You know, the one thing that we were talking about. Yeah. So causality goes crazy as I will it. So yeah, the one that it's a meme. Let's go Orfist effect. It's basically a Cubecia on steroids. But yeah, this card. So this was one of the first things that came up when we were looking at cards to bring over to like premium. This was one of the cards because you put this on your Vanguard when you're on Stark, and they get +10 for the entire turn. So all 3 attacks have +10. So this was the one card. So this is, and I tend to win a number of games using Stark in Chaos Freeze Ray. So that tends to be one of my finishers. But this, other than the over trigger, this was the one card that really stuck out as a potential. It is a Soul Blast, so that's a problem. Running set orders is going to be a problem. Soul Blast effects are going to be a problem in Chaos. I mean, Alviderd and Thummarino are so specific with regards to they need shadow tokens. So
like Brandt Gate, right? I was trying to think about it like set order. Then I'm like, hey, there's nothing really. Then I was like, do I just play a world my deck for no reason? Set the whole order wrong. Okay, I guess Nova Grappler, like if they ever print a good Vanguard, Nova Grappler can take it because they can resend it multiple times. So maybe there'll be something in there in the future. We can play Orfist Nova Grappler. I don't think so.
The Orfist Grapplers. We want to see that. I want to see
that. Of 2021.
More reason for Machina Blau to start playing premium again. Yeah. And I know he doesn't want to play premium, but he should. This is a reason right there. Yeah, we really didn't get the PGs. I mean, it's interesting, but that's for everybody. That's nothing unique there. I really love our over trigger. I know it's OP, but we can play with it. Hey, running fronts in Nubatama. We do have small numbers sometimes, so maybe. But the problem is we have the criticals that stride fodder, and then we've got crits that go into soul. So it gives us more soul blasting power. Plus we either draw a card and we get +10. So it's hard to really justify really taking anything out. Yeah, so I am looking forward to the grade 3 heals. I think that's going to be interesting. I don't know how much that, I'm worried about breaking premium even more.
Well, it definitely is. With that, I think we've discussed everything we wanted to talk about. I guess we can say our goodbyes now.
So yeah, it's been awesome, man. Thanks for
just chatting about
me on. I had a lot of fun, and it's good to get to talk to you. I mean, we type a lot, but to actually, but to get to sit down and talk and just kind of just shoot the breeze and talk about the game that we both have a big passion for. It's good times. It's good. I like it. I enjoy it.
All right, guys. Okay, so with that, I'll see you next time, hopefully. So do let me know whether you enjoyed the episode and all this in the comments below or wherever you're seeing this. With that, okay. Bye.
See ya.